Gentlemen, please welcome our moderator for this session, Phocuswright analyst Jillian Huntoon.
Some of Europe's smartest investors take their take on the state of startups, climate for raising capital, opportunities for innovation and disruption in travel, and what they look for when searching for that next great business. Please join me in welcoming Morgan Linné, partner, Financia Common. Sean Seaton Rogers, general partner, Pro Founders Capital. Bruno Tomé, managing partner, Eurohold. It's great to see you. Thank you, gentlemen. Please take a seat. All right. So here's a kind of an interesting slide that we pulled together. And after looking at these market valuations and market cap for these companies, tell us what you're thinking, Bruno.
Well, I think I have two comments here. The first one is that, as everybody knows, it's better today to be in a collaborative kind of economy rather than being a legacy business. But I think the one I want to take is not really on valuation. What is missing here, there is no European company. And there is no European company, and it's not linked to travel, is that because the culture in terms of developing company in Europe, not only in travel, is totally different. That's one. And the second thing is that it's much more difficult to raise significant money in Europe.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to correct you a little bit. Priceline, I think the bulk of the value in Priceline is Booking, which is a Dutch company as well. So I think we should give credit to Booking.com for being an absolutely fantastic European business, and it's hidden within Priceline. So my perspective on this is that for private companies, so for public companies, you can believe the price. The market is the price, the market cap, you can work out the share price. For private companies, don't necessarily believe everything that you hear, because there's a lot of hidden structure within some of these. So, for example, if I say I would like to value Sean Seaton Rogers Enterprises at $1 billion, someone could invest $1 there, but I can guarantee I'll give them $2 back no matter what, right? So there can be multiple liquidation preferences on these businesses, and the rumor on Uber is that all the new investment does have this multiple liquidation preference structure. So it's just a headline number. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I do agree. I think I'd give more credit to companies like Priceline and Expedia and Amadeus and obviously Marriott, Hilton, and in the sense of they are making profit. I know you find me old-fashioned when I'm talking about profit rather than growth, but I think ultimately being driven by profit is pretty healthy. The second point I would mention is that you better have, what has value on this chart is customers and strong IP. Physical assets, little value. Hotels, walls, cars, doesn't mean zero value, but obviously much less value than customers and IP. So if you add Marriott, Hilton, and Avis, then you're still not even reaching Priceline.
Great. Are there any areas within travel that you think are either over or underinvested?
I think, if you can take this one, I think, obviously home rental is pretty overinvested, pretty massively. So we've seen some late exits from some successful, some less successful. I think this is a pretty crowded market. There's probably room for 2 or 3, and you only have elephants in the room. Airbnb, Expedia, HomeAway, and then Booking. Underinvested, interesting. So I'd mention first, we were talking about that with Sean just earlier. Corporate travel, still pretty much underinvested. A lot of innovation has to flow in that market. Still, the key players are still legacy business. Dinosaurs, we could mention them. I think online booking tools, self-booking tools, hotel booking tools, and mobile apps that can help the traveler, business traveler improve.
But they really just, they just invested in Tujia in China, which is, a vacation rental company. Yeah. So even though it appears to be over-invested, in the Western markets, it still appears to be gaining financing, in Asia. So,
that's a good point. In certain geographies, not metro geographies. Probably another space I like, and that would qualify underinvested, is probably technology. Companies providing tools and technology to improve the efficiency of the market, like software in the hospitality industry. There's a lot of value, like personalization, CRM, everything that helps the customer being more loyal.
Yeah, so broadly, travel is still a hugely attractive area for investors. And it's quite simple because it's a massive market. And more importantly, there's a lot of margin kind of hidden there that businesses can extract as well. So we continue to be very bullish. Of our 30 investments, probably a third are in the travel space. So we love travel. We think we can be helpful to travel companies. The themes that I'm looking at right now and areas I'm interested in, I think it was 2 years ago at Phocuswright Dublin, I spoke about the move from the tourist to the traveler. So people wanted to be part of the local culture, part of the local experience, and all the tools that enabled them to do that, whether it's Airbnb or even Google Maps, which you could load up and say, how do I get from here to there? You don't have to hop in a taxi, but it tell you exactly where to go to take the local bus, the local subway. And so I think all that has continued to come true. I think what I'm interested in now and what I'm looking for is the ambient traveler or the lazy traveler, tools that basically push data to people to make their lives easier when they travel before they even know it. And we've seen things like Google Now that say you need to be somewhere in 30 minutes. Here are the directions on how to get there. I'm very intrigued in tools that for the traveler will say, this is where you are, this is what to do around you right now, these are the things you can do, this is the best restaurant. Because it's actually about taking all that huge amount of data and narrowing it down to what's meaningful to that person in real time.
Great. Another question, I've sat on a number of these types of panels where investors are always looking for a great team and a unique or orthogonal idea. And, they always, are asked, which one do you prefer? And I really haven't found anyone define, what do you mean by a great team? What are the qualities that you're looking for with a great team?
Well, I think first, I think, travel generally, except if you are in a very techy and technology environment, require massive capital. That's the reality of the business, and the slide really illustrates that. So in matter of criteria for investment, and I'm sure you would agree with that, the first thing is extraordinary management. The second thing is still probably extraordinary management. And the third one is access to capital. There are a few exceptions. You are not in an industry like security, other area where you could think that, the products really make the difference and you can probably adapt a little bit the management. Here, the management is absolutely essential.
Sean, qualities of a great team for a startup.
So without a doubt, it does come down to the team's ability to deliver against the business plan, right, which speaks to the quality of the team. So what do we look for? I think fundraising capability is a massive requirement. You're 100% right, Bruno. And I actually think about when I invest, because we invest on average $1 to $2 million checks. And the number one thing I ask myself is, at the next round, if I put them in front of Mark Andreessen from Andreessen Horowitz or some famous US investor, what will they think? Will they say, okay, I didn't necessarily love the idea, but wow, good, strong team and looks interesting. Or will they question just the team? So I think team is number one. And for me, the characteristics of a great team, obviously it's passion, drive, all that kind of stuff, but it's attention to details and numerical ability. So knowing the numbers of the business, what are the key metrics, what are the key drivers, how do I influence each one, and then having a credible path to influence those metrics and improve those metrics.
So you really want an understanding of the unit economics?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think analytical skills are very important. And I'll probably add on the top of all those values, energy. This is something that's hard to measure, but I think it all comes down to energy, the energy that an entrepreneur needs every day to beat the business plan or pivot when it's needed. I think energy is something very more and more important. I think it's especially coming from the Asian culture. Those people have a better sense of what energy means. I'd probably add to that sales and marketing capabilities, because product, yeah, obviously that's a no-brainer. If you don't have a product, you don't go to the market. But then your ability to sell it to your customers, to sell it to your investors, to sell it to the employees. I think ability to sell, I really value the capability of selling from a CEO, especially.
So in the end, it's tough to define. And actually, there was it's tough to define what a great team is, right? But there was a very famous US court case that went to the Supreme Court about pornography about 30 years ago. And they were trying to define what pornography is. And the Chief Justice of the US Supreme Court, basically in his written decision, said, I can't describe it, but I know it when I see it. And I think that's exactly the analogy with a great team as well. It's, you can kind of get touchy-feely about the sorts of things, but you know it when you see it.
Yeah, and you're just saying about, great, great marketing team, great sales team. So, when you're speaking with a company that you want to invest in, whether it's a startup or a private equity, how can you tell the difference between a great salesperson and a great idea or investment? How do you do that? What is sort of the methodology that you use to go about?
Well, I think you need to have someone first having a vision. I mean, you need to have someone, and he could be a great salesman, by the way. And he's generally a very great salesman, but you need to have... Or saleswoman.
Person.
Absolutely. And so you need to have someone with a vision. Where do they want to go? What do they want to do? And then, obviously, one of the second point is the ability to execute. Because, sometimes you may not have the best products, which is fine, in fact, which is very fine. A lot of great companies are built not with terrific products, but they have an amazing management team and a capacity to deliver results.
I think I'm not especially looking for unique ideas. Unique ideas, I don't really believe that ideas are unique. Probably we all reinventing things that already exist. I think ability to sell it, the way that you will influence your teams and your counterparts is very, very important.
Great. All right then. Okay, so let's talk unicorns for just a little bit. CB Insight reported, an increasingly crowded unicorn club, and we've also looked at Lyft, BlaBlaCar, Skyscanner, and Tuja actually become unicorns most recently. Some actually speculate that the bubble is about to burst. What are your thoughts on that?
How many European unicorns do we have?
I don't have a slide on that here today, but I would say that there are actually quite a few. I mean, BlaBlaCar is definitely
Skyscanner.
Yeah, Skyscanner. So there are a few, yeah, for sure.
Delivery Hero.
Now, I think, if I can say, I'm not a big fan of unicorns myself. I think, especially in Europe, I mean, it's a very, very tiny portion of the business. 99.99% are not unicorn, especially in Europe, where you have a lot of small businesses. It even, I think, sometimes is at the moment counterproductive, because a lot of companies think that they cannot reach a $1 billion company. Yeah. There will be nothing, there will be no money, there will be all of that. So where we all know that, it doesn't mean, if you don't do the $1 billion, it doesn't mean that you cannot have a great business. And a lot of investors, I'm not talking about my friend here, but in Europe, just don't look at businesses because they want to see at least this company being able to reach the $1 billion, which is a major problem because a lot of companies cannot find the financing at the moment. Maybe less in London and Berlin, but in other parts of Europe, definitely.
So it feels kind of weird to be the very bullish person on the European panel, and I'm the American. But I guess that's because I chose to live in Europe, so therefore I have to really believe that Europe can create global companies. But I think travel is a sector that Europe is incredibly well positioned to create global leaders, right? Technology shifted. It's no longer about the infrastructure that you have to build out. It's about the creative design-led services that you put on top of the infrastructure layer that's there. And having a knowledge, having a history, having a legacy, having intelligent people that have built companies in the space is all useful. And Europe has been for a long time the global market leader in creating travel companies. Historically, 7 of the world's top 10 travel destinations are in Europe. So there's a strong base to build here. And I still think if you look at Booking.com and some of the unique companies coming out of Europe, there's a lot taking place.
I think it goes back to a comment that I heard from Darren Houston, former CEO. Hope he's well. Saying that it was a kind of a big luck for Priceline to be able to acquire Booking.com, which was a European company which brought European culture of diversity and really helped Booking.com expand into more countries than Expedia did at the same time. I think it was part of the success of Priceline was brought by the multicultural factor of Booking.com. That was stated like that.
Okay. So I'm also kind of interested in learning from all of you, what should entrepreneurs know before they reach out to potential investors and advisors, and do you help them with this process?
So as an advisor, we help entrepreneurs raise large round of financing, because we tend to consider that smaller round of financing, as an entrepreneur, should be able to do it yourself. That's part of the process of the learnings. Then, when you get to maturity, you have to know exactly what you're looking for. I think you're more looking for acceleration than for money. So when going to acceleration, what you should consider as an entrepreneur is choosing the right VC based on, obviously, the human fit, but also the ability of the VC to help you accelerate in your space, meaning this VC has to have a good understanding of the space. Sean talked about his expertise in the tourism industry. I think it makes a lot of sense for travel entrepreneurs to select a VC that might not be the best in terms of valuation, but at least would probably be the best in making connections in a travel ecosystem.
So it's not just about the money, it's also about the strategic value that they bring to the company.
It's always a combination, but I think it's not only about money and dilution / valuation. It has to be taken into account the knowledge, the expertise of your investor.
Well, I think another point here is that I feel that very often, company just, try to raise money at the last moment, never been in contact with investor, and obviously we are in Europe here. It's very difficult for any investor when they have never heard about the company, even if it's a great company, to ask to put money in just a few months period. Mm-hmm. So the point here, I think that generally we are pushing the company far ahead of any process, 6 months, 12 months. Make yourself visible. Make you known by the key investor you want to be in contact. Do non-deal roadshow. Go to conferences like this one to present, but be prepared. Because if you wait for the last moment, it's very difficult. And in Europe, we are not like in US, you have ton of investors. People, great companies are fighting for cash. So I'm sure this guy is receiving a lot of companies, they want to invest and all that. So he has a good problem. He has a good problem to select the people he wants. So, we don't have hundreds of investors ready to put money in Europe. So being very prepared 12 months in advance really helped tremendously to raise money.
Mm. Do you think investors are being more cautious this year? Meaning, do you think it's more difficult for companies to raise capital now than maybe a year ago?
So I'll say within our portfolio, absolutely. I mean, the data that I'm seeing, the experiences that we're seeing is that, yes, the market has cooled off a little bit. And I'm not really sure why. I must say I'm quite frustrated by it because the global macro trends are all still positive. Yes, Apple didn't sell as many iPhones, but freaking everyone's already got an iPhone anyway. So, but that's it, but I think we've all talked ourselves into it. I must say, starting about 6 months ago, I met people and they said, ooh, I'm a little bit worried that things might start cooling off. And then you met someone else a week later and they said, oh, I've heard that someone else said the market's really cooling off. And eventually, you hear enough of this and the market cooled off.
Yeah. I think, market cooled off, but we see still a ton of capital being able to be injected in companies. So in terms of access to capital, the sky is still very blue. In terms of duration, how long it takes to raise the money, maybe we've got a bit of extension. But I think it goes back to what entrepreneurs should know before getting to the market is that make sure you have sufficient traction and keep an eye on profitability. It doesn't mean that you need to be profitable, but keep an eye on OPEX.
It's not only traction as well. I think it's a very credible story for how the capital is going to be deployed. If they can paint a picture that says, with the last €1 million, this is what I was able to do. With your 10 million euros, this is what I plan on doing and how I'm going to do it. Then capital is available.
And I think one comment, as Morgan said, I think it's, when you already have a solid business and you want to raise 5, 10, 20 million already existing, I think Europe is great, and I think you have a lot of capital and people ready to invest. The challenges in travel and online travel is that when you are smaller and when you want to you are looking for the 1, 2, 3 million that he's doing in Europe, honestly, how many investors really do that? I don't have the number, but it's not a lot. People are ready to invest in early stage company.
Great. Well, I'm very grateful that you're able to be here with us today at the Travel Innovation Summit, and having had the opportunity to meet with the entrepreneurs and innovators that are here today. I'm sure many of them will be interested in speaking with you.
Come to us.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.